Thank you. All right. So it's air conditioned in here, but you can tell by the pew there's a lot of people traveling, right? It's finally summer. So on those long summer days, maybe we get to take a vacation, get a chance to relax, have a moment to let our minds wander, right? It's nice. So, have you ever wondered, what's the best place to stab someone? What about how it feels to stare down an enemy that's way bigger than you could ever imagine and face it off? How about how to talk sweetly to that special someone? Or what was it like to live in a Godfather movie where there really were deals which you could not refuse? Or to be so powerful that your word or your thought makes whatever you want happen. Now, if you have, or maybe if one of these struck your curiosity, hold on, keep that thought in your mind, and we'll come back to these. But first, let's try an experiment. Let's try a thought experiment. So, imagine you have a device with a knob or a lever, and it only goes two directions, back, forth, left, right, up, down. And you can choose either up or down, side to side, but once you choose, it's the only options you've got. Maybe something like this, right? Now, how long will that keep you entertained? Yeah, not very long at all. I mean, maybe a few seconds. Click, click, okay, done. Maybe if you wiggle it back and forth real quick. But that's about it, right? Now, imagine if that fidget toy could move in infinite directions. Back, forth, up, down, round and round. Move all sorts of places. Wasn't limited. How long would that keep you captivated? Oh. A little bit longer, right? That's more intriguing. That's more, it's like, what's going on here? So, if you had to pick one to be stuck with for a long time, which one would it be? How many for the first one? No hands? How about for the second one? Yeah, I see a lot more hands, right? That's a lot more interesting. So, the more options, the more ways to mess it up, the more ways to hurt, the more you can break it. So there's a catch to it too, right? It comes with a risk, possible danger. You might break it, right? You might get hurt. Something might happen. So there's a little bit of risk there. Do you still want that second option? Hold on to that for a moment, and let's think. So think about what you've chosen, and let's move on to options two. Oh, say let's try something a little bit more complex. Let's try people. And let's see something with a whole bunch of turns in it. This thing can turn all the different directions, right? Let's see if we can try something with some people that can turn all over the place. This one's a long one, you got it on the screen, but if you got it in your Bibles, turn to 2 Samuel. And then one thing to notice for these next few verses, we're going to start in 2 Samuel 2, and we're going to keep going forward. And we're going to hit some history here. And they're all tied together in the end if you bear with it for a moment. But let's try this one. So this is 2 Samuel 2, 19 through 23. Starting in verse 19. And Asahel pursued after Abner. And in going, he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner. Then Abner looked behind him and said, "Are you Asahel?" By the way, I'm going to use the King James here for a moment, so bear with some arts and thous for a moment, but I'll explain why in just a second, okay? Okay, back to it. "Are you Asahel?" And asked him, "I am." And Abner said to him, "Turn near to the side, left hand or the right, and lay hold on one of the young men and take his armor." But Asahel would not turn aside from following him. And Abner said again to him, Asahel, "Turn you aside from following me. Wherefore I should smite you to the ground. How then should I hold up my face to Joab, your brother?" Howbeit, he refused to turn aside. Wherefore Abner, with the hinder end, that makes it the back end of his staff, of his spear, smote him under the fifth rib, and the spear came out from behind him, and he fell down there and died in the same place. And it came to pass, as many came to that place where Asahel fell down and died, they stood still. Intriguing, right? Let's keep going. This is Asahel and Abner, right? Keep those two in mind. See if you can keep the characters in mind here. Asahel, Abner. Now, We're talking about turns and complexity. Let's see Abner's turn. Keep going to 2 Samuel 3, chapter over. 2 Samuel 3, 26 through 27. In 26 it says, "And when Joab was come out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, which brought him again to the wall of Seirah. But David knew it not. When Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside and the gate to speak with him quietly, and smote him there under the fifth rib, that he died, for the blood of Asahel his brother." Asahel was Joab's brother. Now Joab's killing Abner. Now, before we leave Joab, let's go one more time. Let's turn it again. A little bit more complexity. Let's go to Amasa. 2 Samuel 20. So we're going from 2 to 3 down to 20, okay? 2 Samuel 20, 8 through 10. And again, bear with the King James here. "When they were at the great stone which is in Gibeon, Amasa went before him, and Joab's garment that he put on him was girded unto him, and upon it a girdle with a sword fastened upon his loins, in the sheath thereof. And as he went forth, it fell out. And Joab said to Amasa, Are you in health, my brother? And Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand to kiss him. But Amasa took no heed of the sword which was in Joab's hand. So he smote him therewith in the fifth rib, and set his bowels to the ground, and struck him not again, and he died. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued after Sheba, the son of Bichri." And you may say, wait, we had Asahel, we had Abner. Isn't it Joab's turn? Not yet. We'll get to Joab. Joab was David's fixer, so to speak. Joab killed a lot of people. But this one comes in an important play, and you'll see in just a second when it comes to Joab's turn. So let's keep going. Turn to 1 Kings 2, 29 through 35. 1 Kings 2, 29 through 35. "And King Solomon was told, Joab has fled the tabernacle of the Lord, to the tabernacle of the Lord. There he is, by the altar. Then Solomon sent Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, saying, Go, strike him down. So Benaiah went to the tabernacle of the Lord and said to him, Thus says the king, Come out! And he said, No, but I will die here. And Benaiah brought back the word of the king, saying, Thus said Joab, and thus he answered me. And then he said, Do as he has said, and strike him down and bury him, that you may take away from me from the house of my father the innocent blood which Joab shed. So the Lord will return upon his head, because he struck down two men more righteous and better than he, and killed them with the sword, Abner, the son of Ner, the commander of the army of Israel, and Amasa, the son of Jether, the commander of the army of Judah, though my father David did not know it. Their blood shall return upon the head of Joab, and upon the head of his descendants forever. But upon David and his descendants, upon his house and his throne, there shall be peace forever from the Lord. So Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, went up, struck, and killed him, and he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. The king put Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, in his place of the army, and the king put Zadok, the priest, in place of Abiathar. So are you catching the pattern here? Benaiah was Solomon's fixer. Joab was David's fixer. Can you guess who Abner was? He mentioned in the last message, but did you catch that? Abner was actually Saul's king of the army. So you've got one generation killing the previous generation, killing the previous generation, all tied up together. And this takes place over a few books, right? So Asahel's killed by Abner. Abner's killed by Joab. Joab's killed by Benaiah. You ever seen the Godfather movies? Does any of this remind you of one of those? Next person comes in, he's got to make his mark, he clears out the house the old person behind him. If you read these books, these are way more intriguing than the Godfather movies. There's more intrigue, there's more twists, there's more turns you can ever imagine. And Abner, let's go back. Let's skip backwards in time to see about him. Turn back to 1 Samuel 17, 54 through 58. 1 Samuel 17. And David took the head of Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem. Does anybody remember what the head of Philistine David's bringing? Goliath, right? This is the famous scene after the death. But he put his armor in the tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. And the king said, Inquire whose son the stripling is. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with the head of Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, Whose son are you? You young man. And David answered, I'm the son of the servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. Abner was Saul's king of the guard. He had just introduced the person who's going to replace Saul to Saul, and the person who's going to hire the person who's going to kill him to him. Little do you know, right? Now, you notice how the fifth rib, how many of you have a different translation that says the stomach or the abdomen? So here's one intriguing thing about it. You dig a little bit deeper. The word they use is basically word that can be used for fifth, most common, or abdomen. And so it gets translated into fifth rib. And if you look at the anatomy, fifth rib's right about there in the heart. You're either going to get the heart, the lungs, some vital organ. This is a one-strike assassin kill, straight away. These folks were trained. They were the captain of the guard for a reason. They knew what they were doing. There's a lot of plot twists in that story, right? Let's take it one level deeper, and see something related. These are bloody and violent men, right? Let's see what's said about that type of life. Let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's go to Matthew 26, 52. This is Jesus. But Jesus said to him, Put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. That came true, right? Over and over. If you go back and you read this text, there's so much intrigue that they've got. There's lots of twists. There's lots of turns. It's pretty dark and bloody, though. So, let's try a different path. Not so dark. Let's let a lady have a turn and see if we've got some intrigue in there. Everybody familiar with the Song of Solomon? Turn over to Song of Solomon. We'll read just a little bit. Song of Solomon 1, 2, and 3. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. For your love, I'm sorry, I can't do the lady's voice very well. So you have to imagine. For your love is better than wine. Cause the fragrance of your good ointments. Your name is ointment poured forth. Therefore the virgins love you. And basically that's a fancy way of saying all the girls go crazy over her guy, right? Everybody wants her guy. Now, let's see what the guy says. Turn over to 2 Solomon 2, 14. O my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the secret places of the cliff, let me see your face. Let me hear your voice. For your voice is sweet, and your face is lovely. Sounds like something two lovers would be talking to each other, right? The girl's saying, the girls just love you. You're so handsome. And the guy's like, oh, you're so beautiful. It's very familiar, right? Now, if you've read the Song of Solomon, it goes into a lot more than that. We won't do that. We'll keep this PG. But remember that choice, the device with only two sides to play with versus the one with the infinite? There's a trick to that, right? What would you say if I said they're both metaphor for life? Now, you got the one that goes back and forth, right? And you got the one that goes all over the place. How can that be the same thing for life, right? But if you think about it, what's our choices? There are really only two sides of life, right? You got good, you got evil. Things can be simple, it's basically back and forth, right? It's that straightforward, that matter of fact. You choose the right side, or as I say in the Anybody watch The Matrix? You choose the blue pill. You go back to sleep. You wake up in your bed. You choose the red pill. You enter Never Never Land and you never go back. Right? It's that binary choice. Now, it's a little bit more exciting than the black or white and the good and evil. But that's life, right? It comes down to just that. But how long does that keep you interested? What if the Bible was one verse? One single verse that summed everything up in one moment? Let's go back to the very beginning, or almost the beginning. Deuteronomy 30:15. And this is Moses speaking. See, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil. Good end right there, right? That's really it. You go one way, you go the other way. That's all of it. But how satisfying is that? It's not, right? If you just had that one verse, can we know more about that choice? Why is one side life and one side death? How do we avoid one? What does it mean to choose one over the other? This single verse is literally the places the whole Bible summed up in one spot. But as curious humans want more, right? That two-sided dichotomy is perfectly legitimate. It does stand alone, but we're not satisfied with that, right? We want more. Well, let's zoom back a little bit and read a little bit more of the surrounding verses. Now note, this takes a bit more reading and a bit more concentration, so bear with me. I know everybody's starting to get sleepy, but bear with us. Can anybody read that in the back? All right, it's Deuteronomy 30. It doesn't fit on the slide very well, so go ahead and turn there if you don't mind. Deuteronomy 30, 11 through 20. It's a little bit of long reading. So, and this is the surrounding verses for the one that encapsulates the Bible. But let's see what he says. He adds a little bit more layers to it. For this commandment, which I command you today, is not too mysterious for you, nor is it far off. It is not in heaven that you should say, who will ascend to heaven for us and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it? Nor is it beyond the sea that you should say, who will go over the sea for us and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very near you, in your mouth, in your heart, that you may do it. See, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil, and that I command you today to love your Lord your God, to walk in his ways, to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments, that you may live and multiply. And the Lord your God will bless you in the land which you go to possess. But if your heart turns away so that you do not hear and are drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I announce to you today that you shall surely perish. You shall not prolong your days in the land which you cross over the Jordan to go in and possess. I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you today, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore, choose life, that both you and your descendants may live, that you may love the Lord your God, that you may obey his voice, and you may cling to him, for he is your life and the length of your days, that you may dwell in the land which the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give them. Choose God and love him. And that is good, how you live. If you not choose God, you not listen to him, and you're chosen evil and death. Right? Very simple, very straightforward. But even with that, are we satisfied with that alone? We're not, right? We need a little bit more. So, let's take it a little bit further. Let's skip out to Micah 6:8. Micah 6:8. And this is a very simple, poignant verse. He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. So, okay, we got a little bit more here. So this is how we're supposed to act. Walk justly, live humbly, walk with your God. Well, let's try another take. James 1:27. Pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their trouble, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. So, which is it? Are we walking humbly and justly? Or are we visiting orphans and the widows? Now, for most of you, you're looking at me like, it's both. It's both. You know it's both. And we do. But for those that have been walking with God for a long time, think back. Imagine you're someone who's just coming to the Word, who's just visiting for the first time, and how they would see this, right? Because if you look at them, they're similar, they're close, they're both caring for people, but they're different commands, right? So when you got those folks that are coming in for the first time, you got to kind of see it from their perspective. What do we tell them? Which is it? Well, at first we start simple. Life and how we live it is a simple device. It is that back and forth. And the monitor up here went blank, so I freaked out for a moment, but it's still there. Life is that simple device, right? For those people that are just coming to it, that's how you can start with them. Good, evil, right, wrong. It's something anybody can grasp, anybody can get to. It takes time to build that one, right? You can't start there. That will blow somebody's mind. But you can build to it. We choose love, we choose evil. We choose God's side, we choose the side of the adversary. The word Satan in the Bible literally translates to adversarial, the adversary. Face value, life is that dichotomy, the back and forth. However, when we're curious, we want to know more, we're getting more understanding, start to see more sides, more nuanced things, right? People have the capacity for good and evil within them. We're not always good. We have to struggle and strive to make it through life, don't we? If it was easy, it'd be boring, right? Sometimes we wish for the boring, I know. But it makes things interesting. It fits with life, right? That complexity, that struggle, that strive. At its core, and repeated throughout, is the same two-sided choice over and over. Good, evil. All the Bible, all of our lives. However, we're faced with a myriad of choices, a seemingly infinite amount of options for us to pick through. We can choose right, wrong, different circumstances, different situations we'll find ourselves in. They can be easy to deal with. They can be hard. There'll be some times that you just got to struggle to make it through them. You ever think about why the Bible's written the way it is? How many of you have sat down and gone straight from front cover to the last cover of the Bible recently? That's a hard read, right? Think about your life. Is your life a hard read? It's why the Bible is the way it is. It mirrors life. At its core, it is that good, evil, black, white, do right, do wrong. That's it. But in its entirety, it is so rich, it is so complex, it is so beautiful. And if you give it that time, it really does show up, doesn't it? There's so many facets, nuances of this beautiful book that God gave us. We're talking about that story we just read. If you just read through it, you'll miss it. Somebody died, somebody died, somebody died, somebody died. But there's a reason they died. There's a story to it. There's some depth to it. There's even some context to it that even shows up in the New Testament. There's a lot of layers to it. At face value, the palace intrigue, the power plays, read like a soap opera, or an action story. Going deeper, there's so many lessons to learn about life. Power, leadership, love, honesty, many, many other topics. Going even deeper, putting those into stories together, the ones before it, the ones after, put in context, you can piece together the rise and fall of a nation, the setup of the Savior, the setup to become God's people, other stories that come up, all in that section that if you just read it at face value, reads like a soap opera. But there's so much to it. Your life at its core is a simple two-option device, right? Right and wrong. Your life is also messy and complicated, isn't it? Sometimes even weird. Sometimes beautiful. Sometimes wonderful. Don't you think the book you read should match? There's so much to go over in the Bible. How beautiful it is, how rich it is. You can go on. Remember how Paul spoke overnight? He started that afternoon and he went over all of it. And you went like, what did he got to speak about? If you look at the Bible, there is a lot to speak about. And I won't keep you overnight. Don't worry, we're almost done to the end. But the Bible, it starts in the beginning. It ends in the end. The climax is the turning point in human history. There's so many twists, turns, changes, surprises. You can read it your whole life and find something new every time you go back to it. It's also so simple that anyone can understand it. This summer, everybody's got those reading lists, right? Take the book on the plane, to the beach, to the car ride. When you got a chance, you got to pick one book to read for the summer. How about picking the best one possible? Pick up the Bible and see what it has in for you. We covered the stories. The best place to stab someone, more intrigue than a mobster movie, lovers talking sweetly to each other. I'll leave it up to you to find the ones about facing down the overwhelming enemy. There's actually several in there. And the one who has the power to speak or think and make things happen. But I'll give you a hint. Turn to the New Testament and try the God incarnate. See what he does with his infinite power. It's pretty amazing. When you start to read, or start back reading, remember that the Bible mirrors life. It won't always be easy. There are different parts that'll be hard to make it through, parts that'll be easier to make it through. But they all have something to offer. How many of you go to the First Chronicles where they got the list of basic genealogies? Go, I want a list, I want a list. Is anybody doing that? Now, there are some people who do. No joke. Some people love an ordered list. That just gets them going. And the Bible's got something for everybody. But try this. Try listening to it. Get you like a good narrator or something like that to actually listen to it. And you'll pick up some things you never really realized. I picked up what happens to the tribe of Reuben and what goes on with them. And actually, it's in there. You just got to actually pick it out and pay attention through all those different parts. There's something for you in every part. As with life, sometimes you'll need to strive to make it through the Bible, but it's well worth it. Sometimes you have questions. Sometimes it may take asking someone else for help to understand it, but as with life, you can make it through it, and the reward is great. If you haven't been reading it for a while, or as much as you should, hope this starts a spark that maybe piques your interest and gets you to try it out again. Small reminder, hope it didn't put too many to sleep, basically how incredible God's Word is. Now, today or any time, when you want to choose the right side, when you want to toggle the switch to the right side, to love, to God, and experience His love, being baptized is the perfect place to start. It's to commit your life to God. It's that first step, like everything else. It's very simple. You go down, you come up. But in that one step, one motion, you encapsulate being died and resurrected in Christ. Your sins being washed away. That one simple motion, that one simple act also has lots of layers to it, doesn't it? It's a hugely joyous and momentous occasion when that happens. If you'd like to be baptized today, or if you have anything you need before the congregation, such as need for prayers, please come forward and let us know as we stand and sing the song of invitation. Thank you all.